Of course, in the back of my mind with an idea of racing outside of Formula One myself, like a sim racer going to the real world. So
Listen, guys, the world's most famous racing driver just showed up to the most brutal race on the planet, and things are already getting wild before the race even started. We're talking secret suspension setups, BOP mind games that could flip the entire race, and a qualifying drama that had everyone on edge. This video is going to break down everything happening at the Nürburgring 24 hours with Max Verstappen, so stay with me because, trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Let's break it down, but before, if you want more updates and news on Max, then hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns. The warm-up session, and before the real madness began, the Nürburgring 24 hours warm-up session wrapped up at exactly 10 a.m. local time this morning. This was the final chance for every team on the grid to check their car one last time. Tire pressures, fuel loads, suspension feel, everything. For Verstappen Racing, this was especially important because with that unique Multimatic suspension setup and the fresh BOP adjustments overnight, the team needed to make sure everything was dialed in perfectly before the 3 p.m. race start. After this session, the garage doors close, the engineers make their final calls, and whatever setup is on that car is the setup that has to survive 24 hours of the green hell. So, by 10 a.m. this morning, the preparation was officially over, and the only thing left was the race itself. The BOP mind games. Now, this is where things get genuinely fascinating because what happened after qualifying is the kind of thing that can completely change the race before it even starts. The organizers of the Nürburgring 24 hours came in and adjusted the balance of performance settings, and they adjusted them in a way that actually helps Verstappen's camp. The Lamborghini on pole got hit with an extra 5 kilograms and had its engine restrictor trimmed by 0.5 millimeter, which means less power on the straights. The BMW picked up 10 extra kilos. The Porsche got 5 more kilos. And Verstappen's Mercedes left completely untouched. Now here's the strategic genius that's already being talked about in the paddock. Analysts are saying Verstappen Racing played the BOP game well during practice, meaning they were smart about not showing their full hand when it mattered. If you go too fast too early, the organizers notice and they penalize you. They sandbagged at the right moments, kept their pace hidden, and now their biggest rivals are heading into a 24-hour race carrying extra weight and less power. That is not a small thing over 24 hours. Every kilogram, every fraction of power, it compounds lap after lap. The suspension gamble. And now we get to the story that is genuinely raising eyebrows in the paddock, and it's the one that people outside of hardcore GT racing might not even know about. Verstappen's car is running a completely different suspension setup compared to the sister Windward Mercedes. The standard choice for Mercedes AMG on the Nordschleife is Bilstein suspension. It's what the 80 car is running, but Max's 3 car is fitted with Multimatic dampers and springs instead, which is actually the setup the car was originally built and homologated with. And here's the thing, this was Max's own decision. He tested both options, he knew what he wanted, and he chose Multimatic because his team already uses it in the GT World Challenge Europe. Team insiders are saying there's no performance difference between the two setups, but the question circulating in the paddock is obvious. If there's truly no difference, why make the change at all? Under the Nürburgring rules, this is completely legal, but it's a bold call heading into the most unforgiving 24-hour race in the world. Why is Max even here? Hold on, because before we get into the race day stuff, let me give you the bigger picture of why this is even happening. The Nürburgring 24 hours has been on Max's bucket list for years. He first got his DMSB Nordschleife racing license in 2025, won his very first GT3 race on debut, and has been building toward this moment ever since. The timing worked out perfectly because this race falls in the gap between the Miami and Canadian Grands Prix, giving him a free weekend in the F1 calendar. But there's another layer here that you need to know. Max has been pretty open about his frustration with the 2026 F1 regulations, calling the cars anti-racing and comparing them to Mario Kart. He's described racing at the Nürburgring as what real motorsport is like. So this weekend isn't just a bucket list tick. It feels like Max reminding himself why he loves racing in the first place. The Verstappen effect and the parade ban. Here's something that tells you everything about the scale of this moment. For the first time in the 56-year history of the Nürburgring 24 hours, the event sold out completely, every single weekend ticket gone. And that has never happened before. The organizers were so overwhelmed by the Verstappen factor that they actually advised him to skip the traditional pre-race parade through the town of Adenau and banned him from autograph sessions at the circuit, not because Max didn't want to be there, but because the safety risk of the crowds would have been unmanageable. And if you want one more crazy stat, back in April during the qualifier races, Max's own team refused to let him drive in top qualifying because he was a full second faster per lap than his teammate Lucas Auer, and they were worried the organizers would penalize them with heavier BOP restrictions before the main event. Only Max Verstappen has the problem of being banned from qualifying by his own team for being too fast. The race is on. The race kicked off at 3 p.m. local time today, Saturday, May 16th, with 161 cars across 23 different classes. The biggest grid the Nürburgring has seen in over a decade. Max starts from 4th on the grid in his Red Bull liveried Nürburgring 3 Mercedes-AMG GT3, sharing duties with Lucas Auer, Jules Gounon, and Danny Juncadella. The result won't be confirmed until 3 p.m. local time on Sunday, May 17th. 24 hours of racing through the night. Through whatever weather the Eifel region throws at them, through traffic, through Code 60 zones, through pit stop strategy battles, anything can happen, and in this race, it usually does. What happens next? So to wrap it all up, Max qualified 4th after a tense 3-session shootout. The BOP just got adjusted in his favor with rivals picking up extra weight and losing power, and his car is running a unique suspension setup that nobody else in the field is using. Add in the fact that this race sold out for the first time ever, that Max was literally banned from public appearances for his own safety, and that he's chasing a bucket list dream in the middle of an F1 season where he's openly frustrated with the sport. And you have one of the most compelling racing stories of 2026. My honest opinion? 4th on the grid with a BOP swing in your favor and 24 hours ahead of you is actually a very good position to be in. But here's the question I want to leave you with. If Max wins this race on debut, does that change the conversation about his F1 future? Think about that, and I'll see you in the next one.